Child sexual abuse is real. It is here, it is present, not in Parliament, but in your homes, your backyard, your communities. So we want to work with you to try and prevent it.
There are so many people that this is affecting and affected by. I think the numbers that
1 in 4 females being sexually abused before the age of 15 and 1 in 6 males. I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
When is that time that we speak about it? There's that massive taboo that was there yesterday. I'd like to say yesterday, and probably still today, to be honest, and tomorrow. But yeah, it's got to be spoken about. So
there is no perfect time other than now to actually be talking about sexual abuse and just relationships in general. We talk about suicides, we talk about domestic homicides, but the one thing people don't really like to talk about is child sexual abuse. Well, it wasn't until 3 years ago that I finally disclosed my own sexual abuse, and part of that was to actually come out with this and be courageous enough to actually come out with
courageous.
it. Because, you know, coming from this big Samoan guy in Europe, you know, running over people, tackling, you know, hurting people in the field, and trying to build the courage to actually tell people that you've been sexually abused. There was a time in your life where you were vulnerable. I think that's the hard thing that people tend to try and hide with so many different fronts. You know, by doing so many different things, is they're all trying to hide the fact that at one point in their life, or at some point in their life, that they were vulnerable. The reality is we all have blind spots of vulnerability, but in terms of overcoming them, we need to create safe spaces where we encourage people to actually be able to stand up and talk about it. May not so much be for us, it might be too late for some of us, but it's never too late to put things in place so that our kids are comfortable enough to actually speak about things like this. Right.
So just to stop for a second and think about it, if you look around the office, the sports club or whatever, and every 4th woman and every 6th man, and this is only just by statistics, not by actuality, but has been sexually abused.
Yep, and those are the numbers that we're aware of.
Yeah.
Those are only the numbers that we are aware of here in New Zealand. We have the highest of all the countries surveyed around child sexual abuse. We had the worst stats with
spoken about. So
yeah, so there's a lot of barriers for people reaching out and talking about it. I think we hide behind culture, we hide behind policy, we hide behind religious beliefs. But the fact of the matter is, every 40 seconds somewhere around the world somebody commits suicide. Every 15 hours here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. 668 is the most recent count for suicides in Aotearoa, New Zealand. The year before that was 606. So it's still going up.
G'day, it's Ryan Ashton. Quite a serious discussion that we're going to have with Inu Akere Marasala Thompson, or as I like to call him, Big Ray of Sunshine. Now remember that, because as to what you're about to learn about in terms of when I met this guy, he was and still is a big ray of sunshine. Not only for his physical size, but for his warm attitude and great take on life today. So let me give you a quick intro, and then Ray can fill in the details, which is that from childhood abuse, which led to being in gangs, then got out of it, which is thankful for all of us, and for himself, into professional rugby, which is a great outlet, and then policing, and then from there to where he is now. You'll see the logo on the hat, you see me talk about it all the time, big supporter of MyRivr. So, Ray, if you could add the detail and give people a bit of an introduction to yourself and your story, please.
Yeah. Talofa everybody, Akere Marasala Thompson, born in Samoa, raised in Otara, been a South Auckland boy. So as Ryan's already mentioned around child abuse, I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse, which happened to me between the age of 4 and 8, and they went by strangers. And a lot of my work and experiences and journeys in life have been heavily impacted by child sexual abuse. So a lot of my work now after leaving the police is around child sexual abuse and raising awareness around it.
So one wee thing we should add is you would see in the background we're not in the usual office. We are at the MyRivr Marae, and there's a little bit, there was two parts of the story to that. I'll let you tell them both.
Okay, so those of you that are aware, MyRivr, we've created an app that allows people to find help. Now, the genesis of this app came from back in 2006. There was a spate of youth gang-related homicides across South Auckland, and I was the community cop in this area of MyRivr. So this marae was one of the stakeholders for my partnership network. So after those spate of youth gang-related homicides, I engaged the leader of the local youth gang, and I asked them what solutions looked like to them, because we found that a lot of the public sector would send people overseas and then they bring back all these massive strategies and then expect my community to adapt to these strategies. So I asked these gang members, well, you got all these strategies that haven't worked and they haven't worked for your predecessors and so on and so forth. What does a strategy look like for you? And most of them just told us that we only got help with all these services after we try to commit suicide or after we've been arrested for something stupid. So why don't you create a directory for us of services we can reach out for, like budgeting, like driver's license, like how to get a job, like how to put a CV together, so that we can read them in our homes, in our communities, and reach out to them before, not after we commit a crime out of necessity or desperation. So the blueprint of MyRivr was we built a little booklet which had a number of youth providers locally. We didn't have any funds, but the Manireo Marae here, they did the sausage sizzle fundraiser and a car wash fundraiser, which raised some money to, one, help us build the blueprint, which is a 3-page document of all these providers locally, and paid for the free driver license of 15 of those gang members who are now all have remained out of gangs. They've got jobs, they've got families, and 2 of them actually play international rugby. And Apple is engaging them in something practical. A lot of the communities, or a lot of these gang kids that I work with, they don't want to be bad people. They just make poor choices out of necessity and desperation. When you rob a liquor store for alcohol or tobacco, they both have drugs that are suppressants that temporarily takes them away from their reality, just enough for them to breathe again, to go back to their reality. So what we're trying to do with MyRivr is help people engage in these awesome services across the country so that they don't end up in prisons. Get into a partnership with an organisation called Stop the Silence, based out of Washington DC, and we've been privileged to get some funding from a philanthropist organisation called the Robert Johnson Foundation, who funded us to deliver our program over 2 years to raise awareness. We've just we're wrapping up our third and final day of our child sexual abuse program, where we've invited international speakers from America, South Africa, Indonesia, and all across New Zealand as well, to help us raise awareness. These are just people that have the same wairua, feels the same, shares the same values, that child sexual abuse is real, it is here, it is present, not in Parliament, but in your homes, your backyard, your communities. So we want to work with you to try and prevent it.
I want to say, like a personal thank you to you and Ilya and Rob. Some of the investments, from selling your houses to your time, etc., and taking that punt to leave 12 years of a brilliant career in the police force to go and do this. And that's only from my perspective as a kid that got bullied. So I think there's probably thousands more people out there that have got suffered greater problems than I was facing, who you are going to help. So,
well, everybody's lives matter, and that's
everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey, but everybody working together will help change the outcome of that story for the better. And we all need to work together to do that.
And if we don't tell our stories and we don't share them, if we keep them hidden in the closet, then nothing will change.
Yeah, they will hide theirs.
Yeah, cool. Well,
awesome.
Let's hope that we get many more people sharing their story and making a difference, just like you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers.
So I think if we remove some of those biases and just focus on the wairua and the values that we bring to humanity, I think we'll start getting traction